Welcome back, Queen, to another episode of According to Annie. I'm so excited to be dropping on in once again. Welcome. So good to have you. If you're new, it's an honor. If you're an OG, welcome back, bitch. So good to have you. All right, let's jump into it. So today I want to share a vulnerable share with you around money. And I think that, part of this journey I love to really reflect on, and so I really invite you to reflect on this as well, because I think that we go into business. The main reason that we go into business, right, is because pardon me, is because we want freedom, essentially. Yeah, like we want the freedom. We want to be able to have choices. We want to be able to not feel restricted. Yeah, we want to be able to, if we've got children, we want to be able to give to our children what we didn't have. And so throughout my entrepreneurial journey, money was a really big focus for me. And it has definitely shifted. I would say dramatically. My focus and my why is no longer about the money. And the reflection that I want to share with you is where that belief came from for me about it being about the money. And so I think this also plays such a big part in the work that I do and the evolution that I have in my containers, because I truly do believe that there's different levels of happiness and different levels of the way you view money. And so throughout my entrepreneurial career, I'm a high achiever, if you didn't know that. And so are you also, because that's just who I attract. So welcome to the High Achiever Club. Love it for us. But, what I found was that every time I wanted to grow my business or, like be successful, I was always planning and always strategizing for like what the next milestone was going to be. Like, all right, so how much money am I going to make? Like, what am I going to do with this money? Like, what does this look like? Constantly always planning and strategizing. Mostly before I'd even finished the last lot of goals that I had just set, right? I was constantly chasing. There was this chasing. And honestly, like most of the time that milestone was money orientated. It was rare that it was based on something deeper. I was very surface level early on in my entrepreneurial career. And I think we all are, because most of us are in survival mode as well. And so most of us are just like trying to make as much money as we can to get out of the survival mode. We think that the money is going to get us out of survival mode. And it does to a certain extent, but it's actually so much deeper than that. And that, like, this is what I want to obviously share with you. But, what I was finding was that each year, not so much prior to mentorship. Prior to mentorship, oh my God, like, fuck, money was hard. It was so hard for me in my life. I was constantly like going from week to week, and I was in so much debt. Before I relocated the salon and started with a mentor, I was in almost $90,000 worth of debt. It was like 86,000 or something. And that was from credit cards. That was from overdraft accounts. That was from business loans. That was from personal loans. And that was from a car loan as well that I put through the business. Like, there was so much debt that I had accumulated over that time. And I held a lot of shame around all of that debt. And I didn't talk about that debt for a very, very long time. And it wasn't until I worked more in the recent parts with a completely different mentor who had a completely different way of doing business and life, and just her perceptions on life and the way that she thought about things. Like, really, it was like no mentor that I had ever been with before. She was so much more illogical, like, but yet it made so much more sense. And so that was then when I was able to shift a lot of that story around debt. And I was like, yeah, actually, like, debt is now, I see debt now as leverage. And so I've been able to really rewrite a lot of that story. And I know that a lot of women, when they come into my world, they do have the same shame around debt, you know, and it's almost like because society has said, well, if you're in debt, then you're bad with money. But the more that we keep creating that same vibration around debt, then of course it's naturally going to keep staying the same, because what we put out there is what we keep getting met back with. And so if that's the energy that you're bringing to the debt, then yeah, naturally that's probably what's going to happen. But if we change our perception on it, and it's like, you know, I see the potential that I have in myself. I know that I'm a strong, resourceful woman. I know that I will just need this little bit of like buy me over time to be able to get me to where it is that I'm going, like to help me step into this version that I want to become. So we see it as leverage. Yeah. Because if you start to see it from the eyes and the lens of that, then you're raising your vibration, which means that you are going to start to attract more money into your world, which means that you're then going to be able to start paying off that debt. So yeah, so if you are someone that's currently holding a bit of shame around debt, like I really invite you to look at like why that is your definition. Like, where does that come from? Dig a little deeper and see where that does come from, because it will most likely have been modeled to you. And for me, I know like it was very much modeled, you know, as far as good debt was concerned in my household, it was classed as a car loan, like if you were going to be like driving a nice car, and like a house. Like they were the two things really that you should only be in debt to, that were classed as what we would have classed as good debt. You know, it was like it was acceptable to be in that kind of debt. And now, like, yeah, my definition of both of those things has completely changed. I couldn't care less about owning a house. I couldn't really care less about owning a big fancy car anymore. Like, I feel like I've done all of those things. And that's where I want to like share this with you, because, you know, as each year did roll around, I did make more money. Like the two things that I was chasing in my early on in my career was money and time. It started off with money, and I got the money, like multiple six-figure salon that I was earning. I was also doing network marketing as well at the time. And so I also had a second stream of income. So like money was flowing, like absolutely flowing into my life. But like I said, this really only happened after I started working with a mentor. And then I was like, okay, cool. This is great. I've got all the money and something's still not quite right. And so then I was like, well, I want to get some time back. Like I really would love to like be able to take a weekend off. I would love to be able to, you know, at that stage I was living in Gippsland with the salon and like my partner as well. And, you know, it'd be nice to be able to go back to Bendigo and catch up with some friends for a weekend, or, you know, like, oh, it'd be nice to like jump on a plane and like go to Queensland for a weekend, you know, just things like that. I was like, oh, it'd be really nice to just have a bit more time. So then I started to create the business model that allowed me more time. So I stepped off the floor. I started to build a really incredible team, and they were working amazingly. And obviously I still was in mentorship. So my mentor was helping me pivot the business model to cater for that. And then I got that. So I got the money and I got the time. And then I was like, I'm still not fucking happy. And I really started to question everything, because I was like, this is what society tells us. This is what society, this is the promise, the picture that society paints for us is get the time and get the money, and you'll be like, oh my God, life is so incredible. But yet I felt like I wanted to keep making more money, but I knew that the money wasn't making me happier. And I remember that I had a this is coming through. I wasn't actually going to share this, but this is coming through, so we're going to roll with it. I had a half-day session with my mentor. So at this stage, I had already moved to Queensland. So I'd left my long-term relationship. So in the peak of what had seemed like my life was made for me, on the outside, I had the new car. I had a beautiful family. I had beautiful stepchildren that treated me with so much respect. Like they were like my own children. You know, I had what looked like from the outside a very supportive partner. I had a very successful salon. I was also had also started, I'd finished network marketing, but I had started moving into mentorship. And that was really where I was like, I really wanted to make more of an impact. And that's where my focus really did start to shift. And, you know, from the outside, I had the new car, we were renovating a new house. Like everything looked really, really good. But inside, I felt so fucking empty. Like so empty. I'm going to get emotional. I didn't expect this. And I felt like I had to keep putting the front on with everybody. You know, I had to keep saying, yes, my life is amazing. Because from the outside, it did look amazing. But inside, I was so dead. I had everything that I had dreamed of, but I was so dead inside. My soul was just, had just, was so out of alignment. And that was when I really was like, why am I keeping on chasing the money? Because it's not cutting the mustard. It's not making me happy like I thought it was going to make me happy. And, you know, I look back early on in my entrepreneurial life and I was so determined to make the money, so determined to the point that it was ruining friendships, it was ruining relationships because I was so focused on the money. And so I sat with that and I thought, why am I so focused on the money, even though the money's not making me happy? And after lots of mentorship and therapy, I was able to get to the root of it. And the root was when I was 18, I was kicked out of home for choosing a different lifestyle compared to the lifestyle that my parents had hoped. So if you're new here, I grew up in a very strict religious household. And, you know, I know that that was, my parents were doing the best that they were doing. They truly thought that that was the best life for me. And, you know, I don't hold any resentment or any anger. I've done a lot of work around all of that and a lot of healing around that part of my journey. And maybe I will share a little bit more around that one day. I've actually had quite a few of you message me and say that you've grown up in similar situations. So there's obviously a community here that feel that. So know that I see you. I know I see you deeply, and I will share more of that journey soon. Yeah, I will share that soon. So I know that my parents were coming from a really good place of like wanting me to live this life that they wanted me to live. But right before I got kicked out of home for choosing to want to live a different life, I remember sitting in my bedroom and my mum came in and she said to me a couple of things actually, but a couple of those things are not relevant right now. But one of the things that she said was, you know that you won't live happily without your family, Annie, because choosing this life that I was about to embark on meant that I would have nothing to do with my family. That was essentially a consequence of me choosing this lifestyle. And I know that she said that sentence from a place of love, like hoping that it would make me think twice. I mean, she was about to lose her daughter, so like for good. And she obviously she knew me well, so she knew that once I did walk out that door, that there was going to be no coming back. And so she knew that essentially that there was no more control anymore, and that I probably wouldn't come back to the lifestyle that they had once, you know, given to me. But that statement that she said to me, you won't live happily without your family, Annie, that very statement actually became my driving force. It became my driving force to become happy. And I put that in air quotation marks, happy, which in my mind was successful. And so my definition of success back then was money. The more money that I had, the more successful I was. The more successful I was, the happier I would be. Like I said, that's what I thought, right? And so, you know, there is definitely a huge part of me that's very, very grateful for that comment, because like I said, it was my driving force. And so it played a huge part in my career success. And, you know, without that part of my journey, I wouldn't be living here in Greece right now. I truly do understand that everything happens for you. And the version that you are right now today is based on past versions of situations and experiences that have happened for you. So I truly do believe that. And so, you know, I am truly grateful because it did propel my business like astronomically, but it was also very toxic as well. And I would do, like I said earlier, whatever it took to become happy, right? Therefore, I could prove to my family that I could be happy without them, because being happy was determined on how successful I was, and how successful I was based on how much money I made. And so even though I had nothing to do with them, like it's been 17 years now, nothing to do with them at all, here they were in my subconscious mind, where I was still trying to prove to them that I could do it, still trying to prove that I could be the good daughter, still trying to prove that I'm not off the rails, still trying to prove that even though I'm not choosing to live the lifestyle that you had hoped for me, I'm still a good person. There was so much that was tied up to all of this situation. And I thought that it was all about proving to them. But really what it was about me proving it to myself. It was about me proving that I could be happy without them. It was about me proving that I could be successful to myself. It was about me proving that I could make money. And the more money I made, the more that I would be happy, the more successful I would become. And so as I went on this big, deep healing journey, this was years of uncovering all of this and working through it. As I went on this deep healing journey, I was able to rewrite that story, and I was able to really heal that part of my timeline and really identify, is that really who I want to be? Is that really like how I want to show up? Is that really the type of leader that I want to be? And no, like it's not. But I'm so grateful for this part of my story, because I now get to share this with you. And now you might be sitting here thinking and listening and maybe sparking some things for you where you're like, oh, maybe, yeah, like what is my driving force right now? Is my driving force of creating my business coming from a healthy place, or is this coming from a toxic place? You know, and without that, then you know, you wouldn't be having this catalyst journey right now that you're going through if there's something that's sparked for you. And so as this journey unfolded, you know, my definition of success has definitely changed dramatically. And it's less about, you know, freedom. And when I talk about freedom, I mean the physicality of freedom, because I think we truly believe that the freedom is going to come from the money and the time. And yeah, there's an element of it that does. But you still have all of this stuckness inside your body, all of these old stories, all of these old wounds, all of the generational patterns that you are carrying. And if you're here in my world, you're a generational pattern breaker. Yeah, it's going to start with you. And this path is not easy. This path is hard because you are breaking years and years and years of generational patterning. But I truly believe that this is part of your mission. This is part of your choice in why you came down in this lifetime. Because the paradigm is shifting, everything is shifting in this world, and we need people like you and I to be those people, to break up everything that we've been taught, to let go of all of the generational patterning, to rewrite history. Yeah. Like, this path is not for the faint-hearted. So celebrate yourself for choosing this path. And that's why I truly believe that freedom comes from embodied freedom. And that's really like embodied freedom to me is like, I see this like woman, you know, this beautiful goddess woman. And as that sentence gets said of like embodied freedom, I see her like constricted. I see balls and chains on her ankles. You know, she's like in a cell. You know, not only is she restricted by society and the way that society is, she's carrying all of this weight. She's carrying all of this shame. She's carrying stories from herself, but from years and years of generations. She's carrying all of this on herself. And so embodied freedom to me is deep within. And so when I hear that a woman is stepping into her embodiment of freedom, I see these shackles get released. I see that, you know, she's no longer constricted. She's like, she smashed open the cell and she's like so beyond free that her energy is felt when she walks past someone. She doesn't even need to speak. She's done so much healing. She's raised her vibration. She is just this woman that is just everyone's in awe of. Like, that is what embodied freedom is. She is not held captive to the stories in her mind. She's not held captive of everybody else's projections. She knows who she is. She knows that everything that's happened to her has happened for a reason, and it's so that she can be the light worker and change everything moving forward. So she can be that one that makes an impact in this world. And that is what embodied freedom is. Yes, it's nice to jump on a plane and go somewhere whenever you want to. Yes, it's nice to go out for dinner and, you know, have a dinner out 3 nights in a row. I'm all for that. If you follow my journey, you see that I'm all for that. I packed up, I sold absolutely everything, and I moved to Greece. Yeah, that's one element of freedom. But if you are holding on to all of that old stuff, the anger, the shame, the guilt, the fear, if you're holding on to all of that, none of that lifestyle actually matters because it's not going to make you happy. And that's why I truly believe the two have to come hand in hand. Strategy and energetics. I truly believe that. And so one of my biggest missions is to help women step into their financial freedom that creates the life that they want whilst they're healing themselves. Because I don't want you to get to the stage where you've earned all of this money and you're still fucking miserable. What if you earned all of the money and healed yourself along the timeline so that you lived this full embodied life, this life of the creatress of freedom? Which, if you've been following my stories, you will have seen that is our new company name, the creatress of freedom. And if we break that down, creatress means a goddess who creates something, and freedom is someone that has the power to speak, think, act, and live in a way that they want to. They're not restricted or constrained to society's ways of living. Instead, they tap into their own power and they do things their way. So the creatress of freedom is a goddess who creates a life and business completely fucking unapologetically. And that is my new mission moving forward. There's going to be so many beautiful things that are going to be happening in my world over the next few months. There's been some really big shifts, and I'm so excited to see who comes in to my world to really tap into this new level of healing, to really tap into this embodiment of freedom. So I really invite you to dig deeper. Why is it that you actually want to make money? Not surface level. Like, why is it that you actually want to make money? Sit with that. Create some space for yourself. and see what comes up for you. And then come and let me know. I'd love to hear. Come and let me know on Insta, shoot me an email. Like, I'd love to hear from you. Have a beautiful day. I hope this has served you in the most juiciest way possible. Mwah. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.